But when I saw the piece on what happened to Simon, yeah, it was shocking. It wasn't good, and it sort of raised everyone's awareness that something had to be done and be changed. From our point of view as FatStick, we were very lucky. We work closely with community groups on things like Instagram. There's one called Stand Up Paddle UK, and I was contacted by Dale Mears. He sent me the article, and that's how I saw it through someone else. And we had a conversation. I talked to Dale regularly. He's very big on safety and promoting the sport. And he said, basically, you don't provide waist belts. And I said, no, we don't. And he said, why? And I just didn't have an answer. I had no answer. And he said, do you not think that now seeing that, that incident that happened with Simon, do you not think that they should be a standard piece of equipment, as is a normal ankle leash? And he was, what can you say to that? The answer is obviously yes. You know, it should, of course, it should be. And it's yeah, what happened, although very extremely tragic, is actually created a big change, because I think now SUP safety has taken another level, has taken a big step forward, because waist belts are now seen, or should be seen, if you are a brand owner, should be seen as standard. You know, you wouldn't sell a car without seat belts. You can have the brakes, you can have all the other safety features, the impact bars, airbags, all wonderful, but you wouldn't sell a car without a seat belt, and that is a standard piece of equipment. It's the same with a paddleboard. You give an ankle leash, you give all the right equipment to go out with, but you're not giving a quick release belt. You could be putting someone at risk.
You mentioned that you're a smaller retailer. Obviously, there's some huge names in this market. How big a challenge for you was it to pledge to offer both types of leashes? You know, was there a lot that had to change behind the scenes for that to happen?
No, see, yeah, well, we are a smaller retailer. We're a UK brand. We ship quite, around the world as such, but we consider ourselves small. But even though we are small, we're very agile, and the task itself isn't hard. Whilst I was talking to Dale on the phone, I was texting our factory manager, who makes our boards. We have a very good relationship with our factory. We go out and meet them. We have a hand in everything we do with our boards. It's very important to us. Whilst I was talking to Dale, I was texting her. She came back within about a minute and a half and said, we can source belts. We know where to get them if you want them. And I said, we want them as standard. Can that be done? And she said yes. And it was that simple. It's not a hard concept to grasp. Obviously, the bit in between of asking for them and having them, there's a grey area of research and development, making sure you're getting the right belt, because the last thing you want to do is provide something that's not of quality. And that took a little bit of time for us, but that's only because it's coming from the factory in China, and then they're sending it to us. We're testing it. We're sending it back with a few tweaks here and there. But generally, it's not hard, and it's pretty inexpensive as well.
We touch on being inexpensive. I know that the range of paddleboards is up to £1,500 down to around £300. £300 for most people is still quite a lot of money. To then ask for perhaps a little bit more on top of that, what they've already spent, to get a second type of leash, it's quite a hard message to get across, don't you think?
Yeah, so this year has seen a boom, because obviously in 2020 there's such a huge demand for paddleboards that there's been a lot of companies springing up, which is fine. And some people can't afford, like you say, the £1,500 models. You know, we're kind of in between the super cheap and the very expensive. We try and pitch ourselves there, but even that is still expensive. It's still an investment. So people who don't know if they like the sport will buy cheap. Now, the message that's always been, we've done it through our Instagram for many years, not just because of the thing with Simon, but that if you buy cheap because you can't afford more and you want to get on the water, that's fine. You should use the board appropriately. So you shouldn't be paddling down a raging river. You shouldn't be going miles out to sea. You shouldn't be heading anywhere that's anywhere other than maybe just a coastal shore, and stay within a few meters of the shore to enjoy and use your paddleboard safely. However, if you're providing that board, a waist belt is still still a standard piece of equipment. And when a waist belt doesn't cost a hell of a lot of money, and it's about conscience and ethics and morality, is the fact that Are you happy to take that person's money and say, see you later, thank you very much, enjoy the board, good luck? Or are you happy to say, thank you very much for buying the board, I hope you love it, if you've got any questions, come back to us, this kit is important, please make sure you wear it. I want to go to bed knowing that I've done as much as I can, and we've still got improvements to make, but when it comes to inexpensive and boards and the cost of boards, it doesn't matter whether you're charging £200 for a board all the way up to 1,500. Everything should come with the right equipment. There's no question.
As you know, we've been working with British Canoeing. They've now updated their guidance. They're about to produce a new video showing the different types of leashes and when they suggest that you wear one. How do you explain to customers about the different types of leashes? Because online there's lots of different conflicting advice. Obviously, the governing body is now trying to come up with an official guidance for all manufacturers to use. But until now, how have you approached explaining about the different types of leashes?
Trying to explain to people how to use the different types of leashes in different waters, I think it comes down to engagement and talking with people, using your socials along with the instruction manuals, as well as having it on things like your website. It's about having too much information. It's better to have it and not need it than obviously need it and not have it. But it's also looking outside of what we do and seeing lots of other people doing lots of other guidance, and including other brands as well. And sharing this information. So it's not easy. It's a very much a hard thing to push because you don't want to be preachy. But on the flip side of it, you need to be, because it's all about safety. There are lots of forums, there are lots of community pages that people can look at, and that, from our point of view, other than my face on Instagram doing stories and explaining these things, it's about sort of a consistent message in everything we do to say that SUP safety, not just about leashes, but about safety equipment like mobile phones and having communication devices, not going out alone, that kind of stuff, that should be consistent from the moment someone gives you the money for the board. That shouldn't be your last contact with them. That should be pretty much your second contact. They look at the board, they buy the board, they're part of your family, you look after them, and by looking after them, it's about information, asking questions, and giving answers.
One of the reasons the sport seems to be growing is because it's so accessible, and obviously because it's so accessible, it does lose what you're saying. There isn't generally the aftercare that perhaps certainly you would like to see.
Yeah, sadly, that's the biggest negative to having cheap boards. And I'm not pushing our brand, I'm not pushing anyone else's brand, but when it comes to buying a board, as I said earlier, that should, when someone purchases a board, that should be their second contact with you. It shouldn't be the end. And it's hard because it becomes a business, and it shouldn't just be about a business. We do what we do through passion, as do most brands, to be fair, and they have a love for what they do. But the contact, and when you're buying cheap, you get cheap by way of everything. The board, the equipment, and the after sales, which is not just about my board's popped or my paddle's broken. It's about the care and love and the encouragement to do the right thing and enjoy the sport, rather than just, there's a board, good luck. From our point of view, if you're buying a board, you should get all the equipment with it. And if you don't get all the equipment with it, and by that I mean a quick release waist belt, then you need to ask the brand why, because it should be standard. And if you have got a board, and if you are paddleboarding and you do go on anything to do with estuaries, canals, rivers, any flowing body of water, you really, really need to get yourself a quick release belt if you haven't got one already. And there are lots of places out there we promote panda board sports, not because they're anything to do with us, but Ben concentrates and focuses on that part of his business. And he's very passionate about it, and he does a lot of research and development into his belts, and they're very good. So it's just, safety is everything. Tides, winds, equipment, and your safety on the water, and enjoy it.